the Jeff Buller Show. Today I have with me Stephen Summers. Now, Stephen Summers is almost as strange an accent as I have because he's from Ireland and I'm from Australia. So I'm from the land down under, and Stephen's from a beautiful country I've been to, which is Ireland, and he lives about 2 hours south of Dublin, which is a beautiful city. And I've some good friends there. I've actually been there and spoken in Dublin, so it was fantastic, and I was so glad of the opportunity to meet so many wonderful people in Ireland. A little bit about Stephen. Stephen is a bit of an overachiever, so we're going to dive into that a little bit. He is the CEO and co-founder of Marketplace Superheroes. And we're not talking Batman, Superman, or Iron Man. It's an 8-figure online education and services platform that teaches people how to build a 5 to 7-figure business selling simple everyday items globally on Amazon. And we know how successful that has especially been in the last 2 years. Over the last 7 years, Stephen and his business partner Robert Rickey have grown their company from a single online program to an award-winning business with a team of over 100 coaches, support staff and service providers, and close to 10,000 members. Along the way, they've built a global freight company, obviously doesn't sleep much, and an entire software ecosystem, and multiple 7-figure service-based companies that are built to serve one purpose: helping their members build and scale their Amazon business as efficiently and effectively as possible. Steve and Robert also run their own 8-figure Amazon business because he's obviously got nothing to do on weekends, and have sold well over $20 million worth of physical products globally. Welcome to the show.
Jeff, it's such an honor to be here. I've told you this before. I remember reading your website when I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. So it's great to be here speaking to you. What an honor.
Okay, thank you very much. That must have been when you were 12?
Well, I'm 34 now. So it was when I was in my earlier 20s that I was. You're a pioneer. You're a pioneer on the internet, I tell you.
Yeah, I'm one of the veterans, and sometimes I feel like it, but it's been an incredible last 10, 15 years on the whole social media scene and digital and tech. And I certainly think we're in the middle of the biggest change to how business is done.
Yeah.
And in centuries. And if you aren't excited by that, well, you should be, because it's the freedom that can give you to actually create your own life of freedom, which is what I can talk about today. Yeah. The tools are all there today, and so thanks for reading my blog, and hopefully I provided a little bit of inspiration back then. It was
loads. It was
yeah.
I always get nervous speaking sometimes to people. I used to get nervous. I still do a little bit get nervous when I speak to people who have been in the game a long time, like yourself. But as we've got to know each other, it's just been great to meet someone like you who's just relaxed, is a genuinely nice person. And that's why you deserve the success you have had. So hopefully today I can return the favor and provide a lot of value to your audience, and we can have a great conversation that will inspire a few people. That's will be one of my goals, and teach some people some stuff. And of course, just be a voice of value for people.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the story you have to share, and that's what I want to do, is share stories of people that have chosen to leap into the gap, the unknown, and sometimes it's scary for a lot of us, as we know.
Yeah.
But there's ways to do that which de-risk that, and I think that's some of the fun we're going to have today. So,
yes,
Stephen, you were working in the mental health department of Ireland or something? Is that correct?
The Mental Health Commission I was working for. Yeah.
Were you commissioned to the health department?
No, what happened there was I actually was trying to be a musician. Funnily enough, I was trying to make it in the music industry with a band. We never did very much. And so I was working in a job in the Mental Health Commission as a data processor. I started out as a temp, and then they gave me funnily enough, they didn't actually give me a full time position. They were hiring for full-time people, and they gave it to all these other people. They didn't give me a job. It was at the time when, we were coming to some post Celtic Tiger here in Ireland. So the Celtic Tiger was the period where money was flowing like crazy in Ireland. There was just so much dumb money floating around. It was a mental time. It was actually a comedian said, it was a joke he had when he rings back home and the guys in the field are sort of saying, "Oh yeah, like we're just walking on the field. There's nothing to do. It's really boring around here. It's raining." And he's like, he rang him like 2 weeks later and they said, "Sorry, I can't hear you. I'm just getting into my helicopter." So it was a little bit like that. People got really rich very quickly, and it came crashing down ultimately a few years later. So I was working in Dublin at the time during all of this period of mentalness in Ireland, and then I got this job to try to make it as a musician, and they didn't give me the job as I mentioned. And what happened was I was actually training all the people that were given the job, and so amazingly, the CEO at the time came down to me and she said, "I've actually created a job for you because you should have got a job." So they gave me a full-time position. The band just ended at that time. And I was in a position where I was like, I'm kind of in this job now. What do I do? Because I didn't finish college. I did 3 years of business. I did 2 years of business, 1 year of marketing. And in my second year, I actually was student of the year in my college, which was mildly impressive. It was a very small college, but still it was impressive for me nonetheless. Yeah. And I became quite passionate about business and the theory of business and how things actually work and stuff like that. And so I had really forgotten about a lot of that when I was working in the commission trying to make it music. But the band ends and I'm kind of going, okay, well, what do I do now? Because I asked people, how do I get promoted in this place? And most people said, well, someone has to die or someone has to retire, basically. And I was just like, right. So I tried applying for private companies then, but I had no degree, right? And because of that, no one wanted to give me a job. And I began reading a lot of personal development stuff at that time because I knew I had to take more responsibility for my own life. And where that became really clear to me was I was in a bookshop with my now wife at the time, girlfriend, and was just walking along. And for some reason, this book stood out to me. It was a little red book, and it was called How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Jack Canfield, which now is known as the Success Principles, the bigger book. And I began to read this book and it just hit me hard. Some of the principles like take 100% responsibility for your life and your results, know what you want, set goals, chunk goals down into manageable activities and things like that. And I became inspired because up until then, I was really quite directionless. I was like, I'm in this job. There's no band. My destiny, the thing I thought I was going to do is gone. And I'm sure anybody listening today, maybe you've had that moment as well, where you're like, what do I do now? And when I read that book, it just gave me an ability to start doing healthier things. So I started to take more responsibility for my health because at the time I was overweight, drinking too much, eating too much crap, feeling sorry for myself, in the evenings, drinking bottles of wine and all sorts of bad habits that I had got into, and got rid of all of those, started taking a lot more responsibility for my health. And then one of the biggest principles of personal development, Jeff, that I'm sure you've definitely come across in your own life is this idea where you require information. If you don't know how to get to where you want to be, you need information, you need knowledge. Yep. So that led me down the pathway of Googling how to build a business, how to become an entrepreneur. And I laugh now because at the time I hadn't a clue. And I was 23 or so, so it's well ago now, or 22 or so. No, I was 23. And I remember I would come up with these mental business ideas that were just crazy because I thought to myself, I have to have this unique idea. That's Facebook, and never, I even remember using my call nowadays, and that wasn't true. But I didn't know that because I had no experience whatsoever in actively business.
We're freezing a bit here, actually.
And Jeff,
yeah,
and change over to another internet. Yeah, 1 second, change over to another internet. Okay, there we go. I should be fine now. Apologies. I'm going to do a clap and come back in. Okay.
Okay.
For the editor.
All right, you are okay.
So yeah. So here I was anyway in this situation and taking better actions and googling. So I started to Google in, well, how to make money online, because I knew I wanted to have an online business. I knew I didn't want to be stuck to a location. I wanted to never have to touch products and all of these things that we're told we should want to do when we get into online entrepreneurship. And I went down a bad path. I started looking at some really weird affiliate marketing stuff that wasn't like good affiliate marketing stuff. It was, well, you've never made any money before, so tell other people how they can make money and then you will make money. And that just didn't sit well with me because I'm a person that has integrity and ethics are important to me. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't sleep at night knowing that I've never made money. And the only way I've ever made money is telling people that they can make money doing this thing. So that wasn't for me. So I settled on physical products because I thought that's something I can do. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to be an authority. I don't need a following. I can just get into it. And started moving down that line of drop shipping and stuff like that, like a lot of people do when they get into online business, because I thought, well, I never want to touch this thing. I don't want to take any risk. I don't want to put any money down. I just want to put a website up, run some ads, do some SEO, and make tons of money. That was my goal, like a lot of people's goal. And where it became really interesting for me at the time was I started telling people, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do drop shipping. And my aunt up in Northern Ireland, which is about 3.5 hours drive from where I am right now, caught wind that I wanted to start a business selling physical products. And luckily for me, she gave me a call. And I didn't really chat to her that much because she was kind of far away and whatever. And she just said, look, I hear you're looking to start a business selling physical products. I have a friend called Robert, and he does that. Do you want to meet him? And I just thought, absolutely, this could be amazing for me. Because really, I was reading all these little cheap ebooks and not getting anywhere with this drop shipping thing. So I met Robert and herself and all of the crew up in Dublin at a comedy gig. And of course, as Irish people do, we had a lot of drinks, as you might expect from Irish people. Although I don't drink at the moment, which is hilarious. But we met up, we had a load of pints and everything else. And I got to chat to this guy. Now, Robert, for anybody who's listening, he is about 6'2" or 3. He's got a big beard. He's just a huge guy. He's a big mountain man. And I met this fella and I was a bit intimidated by him initially. And then as I got chatting to him, I realized this guy is a really good fella. He's a really nice guy. And he told me he had 2 warehouses at the time. He had a good lot of staff as well. And they were selling their own branded products on eBay and on Amazon at the time in the UK, because Northern Ireland is actually part of the UK. Weird political stuff for those of you who don't know. And anyway, yeah, I was just blown away by this guy. I was so inspired, and I was just burning his ear all night long. I was thinking back to a lot of the business theory I had been reading and other books I had been reading, and I was trying to apply it across to what he was doing. And he just sort of said to me, look, do you want to come up and check out the warehouse for a week? Take a week vacation. I thought, absolutely. Yeah. So I just realized, Jeff, I'm going through so much detail in this story, but it's okay.
No, it's fine.
As long as you're happy with this, it's okay. Because I thought it's supposed to be a whistle-stop tour, but I realized I'm just going into massive detail on this.
It's absolutely fine. Keep going.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, he said, let's go up and do the thing. So I went up for a week. The warehouses were freezing cold. There were rats running around the place. But you want to know something? I fell in love with the whole thing simply because it was a real business selling real products to real people. And that was huge for me because everything up until that point was very smoke and mirrors, very, online weird stuff. And this was a real legit business selling on eBay, selling on Amazon at the time. He was also selling some wholesale products as well from different brands from the UK. So he was bringing them in and then selling them on those platforms as well. The mistake Robert was making at the time, though, was that he was trying to have his own online platform as well and go into the electronics accessories market. So TV brackets, speaker brackets, things of that nature. He was trying to really zero in on that and build this big business. But the trouble with those particular products was they were very commoditized in nature. And as a result of that, just like hard to build a business doing that. But he was doing quite well, but it was tough, a tough business. And so after working there, I was there for about 9 months. I just worked for free. I quit my job. I moved in with my aunt into her spare room. God bless her. And, I was learning every single day from this guy. And we just got to a point in time when I sort of turned around to Robert and said, I think we need to make a big change here. We've got to get out of this one little narrow niche and we've got to move into multiple different niches. And I also think we should just use Amazon's fulfillment services. So completely get away from doing our own fulfillment. In other words, shipping out to customers from our warehouse, and just put our stock over to Amazon, let them hold it in stock, and then we'll sell our own branded stuff. That was the other thing we made the decision on. We'll go private label only. In other words, only our own products that we import.
Yep.
The only things we would sell. And so long story short on that anyway, we got rid of the warehouses, we got rid of the staff, we got rid of everything. It was just myself and Robert. And we worked our asses off for about 18 months. And we really restarted the business, and we put it into a company that was doing about $1.6 million a year at that time in revenue, at about a 30% net profit margin. I always like giving the numbers because, it's all well and good talking about revenue, but you have to talk about profit as well. And so 30% of the sales price still to this day is what we look for in a product that we sell on Amazon. And so at the time we were bringing in about a net profit issue of about 200 to 300,000. But we weren't pocketing all of that. We kept putting money back into the company just to let it grow and grow and grow. So for about 4 years, we ran that business together. Obviously, Robert's done it a lot longer than that previously. And we turned it into a multiple 7-figure business over time, which was great. And we had a nice lifestyle. We were traveling with our families and all those things that we want to do when we read the 4-hour work week and everything. We were living that. And then really in 2014, after doing it for 4 years, we both kind of looked at each other and said, there's all these other people teaching how to sell on Amazon. And a lot of it is kind of nonsense. Like, we don't really believe in what a lot of these people are saying. I said to Robert, look, you're doing this a lot longer than me. I've learned from you. I feel like we've got something to share in this world that would be really interesting for people, that would genuinely teach people how to do it, because we can't sell all the products that are available to sell on Amazon. Like, there's over 200 and 300 million products sold at Amazon, individual items sold on Amazon. So we can't do that. There's no way, but we can certainly steer other people in the right direction while we do it as well. And so that's what we did. Fast forward to today, and we can go into the detail of those other bits then. As you mentioned, we're now an 8-figure company. We're much more than just an education business now, though, although that's a big part of our business. We have a freight company, Superhero Freight, where we ship our members' products from China to our warehouses in various different countries. So the US, Australia, we've a warehouse in Brisbane there, warehouse in Canada, and we've a warehouse in the United Kingdom up in Northern Ireland. So, we've grown this really cool company. We've got lots of amazing clients who are working with us. We're seeing people succeed on Amazon every day. I suppose now in 2021, we've actually started to branch into other areas as well for our community, other areas that we're involved in, and teaching those skills as well, which is where, Jeff, I know you and I, we really connected as well, because that's something you're very passionate about, teaching skills in other areas also. And so that's really the not so short version of the story. And I'm happy to go into big detail in any aspect of it at all.
So where it all started from, I suppose, was you were very curious about the online economy. And was that book that you picked up by Jack Canfield one of the biggest inspirations to sort of kick you over the line?
Absolutely. I mean, a few years previous to that, I remember my mom had read The Secret. And, people had different reactions to that book, right? Because it's the law of attraction and everything. And, it's interesting. I don't know about the law of attraction, but I certainly know that a lot of what's said in that book from a simple, like, action reaction point of view is very accurate. But at the time, I remember my mom was telling me about it. You just have to think about what you want, focus on it, and you'll get it and stuff like that. I just remember thinking, what a load of nonsense. I was, because at the time I was young and all the rest. And then the more I thought about it, I thought maybe there's something in this. And so I secretly, grabbed the I think it was the movie at the time, and watched it. And it really did inspire me to just to think there's another way to think about life. So anyway, coming to that book, then I'd sort of put that to one side, because at the time I was pretty depressed. And that book just called out to me. And absolutely, that was the big inspiration for me. And as a matter of fact, I used to listen to Jack every day. He had this thing called Ask Jack. It was like a monthly call. And I subscribed to that, and I would listen to that every day walking to work. And that's actually an interesting lesson, because I wasted probably a good bit of time listening to positive things all the time rather than learning specific things I could go and do.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, the only reason I had the courage to quit that job and work with Robert back then was because of the lessons I had learned from those books. And ultimately, I realized I'm never going to go anywhere if I stay in this job, you know?
Yeah, so yeah, it's really interesting saying that you wanted to do online business. Jack Canfield was his focus on online business, digital business?
No,
No, it wasn't, was it?
oh, no, not at all. No, Jack's a personal development teacher, someone I still have a lot of time for to this day. And really, it was just about like thinking in a different way. And then I became inspired by the 4 hour work week, which a lot of people have been.
Yeah.
And I have different kind of take on that nowadays. I don't work a 4 hour work week anymore. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
And we can certainly talk about that, why that's not the case. But I read that book. I became really inspired about then a muse, as Tim Ferriss would call it in that book. And for me, just online was just the way to go. I thought I just don't want to have big, locations and stuff like that, which is ironic now because we have all these big warehouses. But at the time, I just didn't want any of those things. I wanted just to have this freedom to travel and all the stuff that, again, most people will say they want to do. And online business is a really fantastic way to do that. I still believe that to this day. All of our businesses are primarily online. I am so grateful that that was the pathway that I chose to go down, simply because it's been and will be the best way to go. We can reach a global audience. Like, I'm from a little town here. Like, Wexford's not an internet, mecca of the world or anything. Most people are, builders or fishermen or whatever, like around here. So for me to be able to build this global business with Robert and the team, and I'm sitting here in Main Street, Wexford, is pretty incredible. And that wouldn't be possible without the internet. Like, if I taught people how to sell on Amazon and I only sold that in Ireland, I wouldn't be very successful because there's only a small amount of people in this country. So the internet is just, it's amazing. And like you said at the top of the conversation, the opportunities that are coming down the line are even bigger again,
Yeah, it's a whole paradigm shift, and I don't think people that have grown up with traditional industries, whether it's law or accounting, but they're being reinvented as well. We've got artificial intelligence, machine learning that's challenging every piece of that business, knowledge industries especially.
Funny you say that. I'm involved in a financial advisory company actually that we started with my accountant and my advisor, and it's a UK service. And I can tell you, you're right, because even with accountancy, traditional compliance accounting is almost dead now because of software. Just software can just do the thing that accountants were paid to do for so long. So you're right, paradigm shift is coming.
I haven't had a physical meeting with my accountant for, let's say, 18 months.
Yeah.
And I don't need to. I can Zoom if I want to, but so the information industry, which is about 42% of the world's workers, which is where we're essentially playing, you're delivering physically, but because of the internet. Now, the other thing that I'm in terms of hearing a story, what I loved, one part of it especially is that you're willing to go and work for free to learn.
Yeah.
And that I so love that, because I left teaching to actually leap into the industry I'm in today, which is the technology internet industry, and I transitioned eventually into what I'm doing today. But during my school holidays, I worked for free for 3 different companies to see which one felt right.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, I bet you didn't write down a business plan initially.
No. I still don't really believe in business plans. I think they're a waste of time.
No. And the other thing too, I love the fact that you're willing to work for free just to go and learn and see if it, and I'm sure you're curious, is this the right thing for me to do?
100%. Working for free, I am a massive believer in this.
Yep.
Even now, we started something within our company this year called we have our thing called our marketing apprenticeship, because I've become well known now in the industry as not only selling things on Amazon, because that's how I started, but really, like, if you look at it, my big skill is in marketing. And and I wanted to teach our audience these particular skills because like how do you create marketing campaigns for companies? How can you go into any business and find money in that company like that and put together the entire campaign for people so they can put it into action and start making money straight away? That's something I can teach people how to do, you know? And so we started doing that this year, and we charged people to learn those skills because, you know, they're valuable. And if you give people that information and coaching for free, they'll do nothing with it. But then there was a couple of other people came to me and said, look, I don't have the investment for that right now, but I really want to learn and I am absolutely driven. And so I've given a couple of people internships now in our business, and they're learning from me and the team, and they'll become part of the team when they can show that they're able to do what they're looking to do. And so we still do internships to this day because I believe in it so much. And reality is most people, especially younger people, and it's older people too. Most of our client base in the Amazon business are a little bit older than I am, but not old. But even that, doesn't matter what age group you are. I think most of the world now is very entitled, and that's a problem we do face. And that entitlement has come from certainly the speed of technology. It's come from a lot of culture as well. Like, you know, oh, I have a degree, therefore I am entitled to a really good job or whatever. All that bullshit. Apologies for swearing, but it is. And I don't believe in that. Like, you know, so for me, that was the thing that changed my whole life, because without saying to Robert, look, I'll come work for free, I would never have got the opportunity, I don't think, because I had nothing to offer Robert, really, although I had a lot to offer him, but in my head, I had nothing to offer him. And so he just saw something in me, gave me that opportunity. And that's the other thing, too, I want to touch on there, Jeff, is that giving me an opportunity. I suppose he did, but then I sort of said to him, I'll work for you for free. So I put myself in there. And nowadays, anybody listening, if you're looking to get into a new industry, the best thing you can do is go out there and find ways to improve a business, and then go in there and say, I can just do that for you. I don't need any money. I want to learn and be enthusiastic. That's what I had with Robert. I think for him at the time, it was very stressed. Like he was working a lot of hours at the time because of the way things set up, wasn't using Amazon's fulfillment, things like that. And when I came in, I had this, I suppose, fresh enthusiasm for business. And I think that helped him a lot as well. And even now, when I meet people that come to me and they want to intern and they're really enthusiastic and ready to go, that helps me as well. So I think enthusiasm is also a superpower for that type of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think if you bring passion to the equation, and someone's a bit tired, a bit jaded, and you're willing to bring that passion to the table, I would assume that Robert's a bit older than you.
Yeah, so Robert is let's see, so I'm 34. Robert is 12 years older than me. Yeah. He's a little bit older, but he was in his mid 30s when I met. He was actually, I often think about this. Robert said something to me that was very poignant. He's a very, very intelligent guy, very, very wise guy. And one of the things he said to me was, when you're my age, so 35, and I met him, he's like, you're not going to have to worry about anything. You're going to be set up for the rest of your life. I'm 34 now, 35 next year. And I'm in that position, you know, I own my home. I don't have a mortgage or anything like that. I've got these different businesses, got a lot of really great investments in place, real estate and all of those different things, all been worked for, not been given to me or anybody else for nothing. But he was right, you know, and without him, without that mentorship I had, I would not be sitting here today. So I'm forever grateful to Robert. And no matter what business we ever do, even if I'm doing all the work, I would still give Robert a share of that because I owe him for what he gave me.
Mm. I think it's fantastic. My writing buddy, Paul, he has a business partner that's, I'd say, 18 years older than him. And that's been a fantastic partnership to watch over the last 10, 12 years that I've known them both. And I think to find a partner that complements, someone brings more experience and someone brings energy, and that can be the difference between someone a little bit older and someone a bit younger.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've discovered someone who's a great business partner, and they are hard to find. And
Yeah, we've tried to have other partners, and we do have other partners now who are fantastic. But we had other ventures over the years that we attempted to get off the ground, and it was impossible to work with these other people. Robert and I, everybody says it. we have something that we do sound like a married couple because we are really, when you're in a business partnership, you are pretty much married to the person. But we just have something that most people don't have. Like we don't really disagree. Even if we do disagree, we always have this rule called the no can't carry. In other words, just because you said no doesn't mean it's a no. You have to tell me why it's a no. You have to sell me on the no. So I can say, well, yeah, that's actually true. I'm a no as well then. And we have lots of other cool stuff. But really the biggest thing is that we genuinely care about each other's success. We look out for each other, and that's vital, especially as we've started to grow. We've started to experience a lot of stuff even lately, like stuff with team members and all sorts. And yeah, Robert's that one constant in my life, person I know I can trust, I know has my best interest at heart, and because of that, it enables him and I to spread out now and do different things in our businesses. Like I don't really have to look at the finance end very much because I know it's taken care of. He doesn't really have to look at the marketing and growth end because he knows that's taken care of. That, and as you say, it's very rare, Jeff. You're right.
Mm. And I think you must feel very, very grateful that you were able to meet him.
Very, and I do thank my aunt, funnily enough, who initially connected us. She actually now works for us a little bit, just a little bit of support stuff for us now. So come full circle.
I want to talk about growth in a minute. So let's park that because I think that's what a lot of people need to know is so you can start a business, but how do you grow it? And there's a lot of different ways to grow a business. The other thing that you mentioned before, which I want to go back to, is that you don't believe in business plans. And I really don't myself. And I met Dave Levinsky recently on a podcast, and he's like the business planning guy. And when he started his business, he didn't have a business plan. I actually jokingly said that to him. He said to me, I said, okay, so what's the most important? How do you write a business plan? Or the most 2 or 3, 4 different things you should do in a business plan? He said, there's only 2. 2 things. Number one, describe in 1 sentence what your product is. Number 2, write down why you're uniquely qualified to do this. Yeah. And I actually did that afterwards because I'm in the middle of planning a new product and launching it. And I was thinking about one aspect versus another aspect. And I sat down and just did that. And it's so simple, but it's so powerful. When you said, this is why we're uniquely qualified. And I'm sure that's what's happened in the evolution of your business in terms of what you do next. So yes. that is a business plan, but it's not a business plan in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
And
the other thing, Oh, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
The other thing, the other thing that I've found really powerful is a lot of people sit down and write really big goal lists and very specific. I think as humans, we don't know what's around the corner. So for me, there's actually 2 steps to this. Number 1, you need to have an intention of where you want to go. And you wanted to start an online business. You didn't even know what it was, I'm sure, at the time. It was an online business. So
anything.
Exactly. So you had intention. Then what you did was the second step. And this is almost the secret to success, is then you gave it focused attention and moved it forward every day. And the hows will reveal themselves.
Love that. So true. And I love what you said about the business planning. I would say I do that, and in just a different way. I've stumbled across that same kind of idea over time. Really what you're saying is I love that book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. It's a great book.
I've read it. Yep.
It's a kind of a similar idea in a way of like the focusing question. What's the one thing I can do that makes everything else easier or irrelevant as well? That's a great question to ask all the time when you're growing and even when you're starting too, like, because when again, we could talk for hours on this, literally hours, and maybe we will, but we could, but I agree with everything you said. I also want to pick up on what you were talking about, this idea of like goal lists, right? Because I wrote those goal lists as well. Years ago when I first read the Success Principles, the Jack Canfield stuff we talked about. And it's actually funny because I kind of wish there was a list of over 100 goals I wrote down for my life, because that was one of the things he talks about, right? Which is kind of funny when you think about that. But I kind of wish I had them now, because I reckon I've achieved almost all of them. I would say there's still some to achieve. I suppose my point is that I, over the last number of years, would have said, written down goals, I'm not sure, kind of thing. But then when I look back over my life, and this is called feedback analysis, when you actually look back over the time, funnily enough, the things that I did actually write down as goals have been kind of North Stars throughout my business career. So I think where I've come to now is long range, like intentions, like you just said. I think it's a brilliant word rather than goals.
Yeah.
These are here's why my intentions, here's why I'm gonna do at some point. I think that's excellent. I also agree with you about, well, things can happen. I make the joke now. It's not all that funny, but it's kind of true. Like, I mean, New Year's Eve, like 2020, right? New Year's, so 2019 going into 2020. I bet everybody like this is going to be my year. This is where it all changes. I'm going to go and do all these big things, right? And what happens in March? Coronavirus stops the world, right? Literally stops most things that we known how to do. And obviously we've adapted and everything. And our business grew during that time, which is odd. But that's kind of the thing. Like, you can't plan for certain things. So where I'm at now, just to give you my take on that, I love this idea of the 12-week year. It's another book as well. I'm big into books, as you might have guessed.
I have heard of that, actually. Yeah.
Yes, but it's just a simple idea. Like, you can achieve a year's worth of progress in 12 weeks. And people would say impossible. It's not impossible. It's very, very possible. And so as a company now, we only look at the next 90 days, because outside of 90 days, from a tactical point of view, you don't know where you're going to be. So that's something we do. And we actually have almost like Lego. It's like little Lego blocks of what we're going to promote, what we're going to do. And that's something, actually, it's a new business we're moving into teaching that process.
Yep.
But anyway, so there's that. And I think the final point on this I would make is that, you might, like, when we started Marketplace Superheroes, we said, I remember Robert and I saying, if we made 300 grand profit doing this, teaching this thing, that'd be great. That'd be a brilliant, like, ever 300,000, right? Ever. And our vision at that time was so much smaller because we just didn't know that we could do this big thing. We'd never done it before. So I think when people say, I always knew I was going to be like super successful, millionaire, all that, I think sometimes that's a lot of balls and not true, actually, because we didn't know how big we were going to make Marketplace Superheroes. And even now, we don't know how big it's going to go. I mean, I don't know. But all we can do is have what you said, that intention of where it's going, where our goal now is to initially impact 100,000 small business owners in the world. And that means that they're clients of ours. And then when we hit 100,000, we'll go for the million. Some people would say, well, why don't you go for the million now? Because we're at 10,000 now. 100,000 is more attainable. Then we'll go for the million when we've shown we can do that. Because if you go for the million today, sometimes you can sound like a bit of a dreamer, and that's okay. Good to dream. I still dream, but what's even better is focused action. What am I going to do over the next 90 days? How am I going to make my life better? What am I going to actually execute on, rather than just listening to positive information all the time? I love positive information. I'm a positive guy, but you can't only do that, because you'll never be successful. And I just want to make a final point, just while we're on this topic, because I think it'd be very helpful to your listeners. Proven processes. Yeah. That's what you're looking for when you're starting out. I wish I knew this years ago. I would be way further on than I am today. All I'm saying is, go out there and find people who've proven a process. Jeff, you've been doing social media and all this stuff for years. You teach the things you know how to do. So if people just actually listen to you, which a lot of people do, and more people listen to you and just do what you're teaching, they'd be successful, because you've gone and figured it out. With Amazon, we figured it out. Just do what we're telling you to do and you'll be successful. I can't guarantee you'll be successful, of course, but you will be. If you keep going, you will eventually be successful. So instead of trying to figure these processes out for yourself when you have no experience, you have no knowledge, it's just silly. So go and find people who've done it and just follow the map, and then innovate once you've got some business success.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The word process sounds boring, but
yeah,
it's got magic in it because it scales.
I like to, proven is exciting though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a proven process. I totally agree with you. Um, and so it's something I've been focusing on a lot more over the last couple of years. I love the term. There's an interview done by Bill Moyers, who interviewed Joseph Campbell back in the 80s. There's a fantastic series of 6 interviews done for an hour each. It's if you want to feel the ebb and energy of humanity and the myths that drive us. It's just awesome. I've watched it about 5 or 6 times. I'm a bit of a fanboy of Joseph Campbell, but George Lucas had his series, and this interview series was done on George Lucas's farm because Joseph Campbell's hero's journey is the story arc for some of the most successful movies of all time, including Star Wars. So what I heard was listening to George Lucas being interviewed by Bill Moyers in the 90s, and he said the essence of what he said was not only be in love with what you do, but be in love with the process of what you do. And I went, wow.
Yeah.
And so I'm falling in love with process, which I never thought would happen to me because I always saw it as boring. It sort of sounds like an accountant. But the reality is that there is magic in the process. And
there is.
And if you take a proven process, learn from the masters such as yourselves on, Fulfillment by Amazon. The acronym's FBA, by the way, if you hear it in dispatches. But the reality is that if you can just be curious and love the process and just step into it every day, after 90 days, you've taken 90 steps. And then you've got 365 days, 365 steps. So you've got to play the long game. And that's what's fascinating.
On that point, I love that. I'm going to check out that interview you talked about. It sounds really fascinating. I would love to watch that because I was actually, I've written a number of screenplays in my time, would you believe?
Okay.
And so I'm into Joseph Campbell and all of the how screenplays work and everything. But when you talk about proven processes again, one other thing to say. One of my favorite books, and I believe you've already interviewed this guy. I'm sure you have because you've interviewed loads of people. MJ DeMarco, who wrote The Millionaire Fastlane. Have you interviewed MJ before?
I haven't interviewed him. No, not yet. No.
There you go. There's someone you can interview now who's awesome. But MJ wrote this book anyway, The Millionaire Fastlane, and it's one of my favorite books of all time. It's a genuinely phenomenal business book from a philosophy standpoint of what it takes to be successful. And one of the things he talks about in that book is most people want events of wealth. So I win the lottery. It's an event. I made loads of money.
Yep.
The media will shine a light on this young kid who started a company and sold it for 100 million or whatever, right? But what they never talk about is, well, there was for that kid, there was a big process that he or she had to go through to build that business that sold for 100 million. And it's never talked about. All it's talked about is the event. And the trouble is, and people watch these TV shows like in the UK and Ireland, we have Dragon's Den. In the US, it's Shark Tank. What's it in Australia? Is Shark Tank Australia?
Shark Tank, I think it's called.
I think it's Shark Tank Australia, yeah. So there's these shows where people come in and they have an idea, they sell the idea, they get loads of money, and they're successful at the end. It's not how it works.
No.
Any business really is a process. And so I think, your point of getting excited about it, whether it's selling on Amazon, doing social media, offering marketing services to businesses, whatever, getting excited about that is actually a very wise thing to do because it's going to get you the most success, because it's going to keep you going when things get tough. Notice I said the word when, because we have no right to be just successful in life. We have to go out and make that happen. And so there's something that a friend of mine, Ryan Stewman, talks about called the force of average. And that's what it is whenever difficulties come up, it's the force of average trying to bring us back down to just average again. No, don't step out of line. Just stay doing what you're doing. And so you have to understand that you're going to have difficulty, but when you actually love what you're doing, you enjoy what you're doing, you have that intention that you talked about, Jeff, you'll be successful eventually. At some point, you'll be successful.
Yeah, and then persistence and perseverance comes in, and playing the long game becomes very, very important. But
absolutely,
I think you've got to discover that what you are meant to be on this planet for. In other words, what are your innate ability? What do you love doing? I don't mean I love skateboarding, so I'm going to do that. But it's I think you need to be listening to that. And Steven Spielberg says he calls it the whisper.
Yeah.
What you're meant to be doing for the rest of your life is not going to shout at you. It's just going to be a whisper. But then you've got to act on the whisper.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a great idea. Love that.
And you acted on the whisper, and that's what you've done, and that's what's so great to hear. Now let's get to growth. We park that. Let's bring it out of the box. So, what's your growth process?
Yeah. Let's talk about marketplace superheroes specifically, because I think that would be most applicable to your audience. So what we do, I'm a huge fan of Jay Abraham, right? I'm a big Jay Abraham aficionado. I actually got to spend some time with Jay this year on Zoom, of course, but it was great. Got to talk to him about our business and everything. And I've studied his material very heavily. And the biggest thing about Jay's content, which a lot of people will have seen at some point, is the 3 ways to grow a business. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'll tell you. And the first way is to add more subscribers or more clients to your business. The second way is to increase your average transaction value, so the average price that you sell things for. And the third way is to sell to your existing clients more frequently. Now, everybody knows that, but hardly anybody does it. The one thing that I and our team have become really good at Marketplace Superheroes and all the businesses that we operate in our network is we do this, and we do it religiously, because you hear all these different things where people will say, well, it's easier to keep an existing customer than get a new one. That's true. It's easier to sell something to an existing client than get a new one. That's also true. And most people don't do that. They just keep on looking at new clients all the time. Now, when we look at the 3 ways to grow a business, therefore, that's the growth model, right? We add new clients into our business at the front. We increase the average transaction value. Therefore, we have different higher priced products and services that we offer in our business with higher profit margins as we go up, typically, not always, but typically. And then the third thing is we sell more things to our existing clients more frequently. Now, what I've done over the years is I've drawn a line in our business between our buyers and our non-buyers. This is my growth mentality. And what happens is when someone initially comes into one of our businesses, they're offered things in an automated basis. Like most people will have a front end offer, as we call it. So with the front end and we have the back end in the business. And so what we do is we offer our products at the front, and it's in an automated fashion. Some people buy there a very small percentage. It's never 10%, 20%. I wish it was. It's always a smaller percentage. But then what happens is when those people buy something, they move over to our buyers list now. They're part of our buyer base. And we can talk about segmentation, whatever. But for now, let's just say they're a buyer. Everybody else then who is a non-buyer, what's my goal there? My goal is to turn them into what's called a customer and then into a client. What's the difference? A customer is someone who's going to give you money once. A client gives you money multiple times. So I'm always looking to get people over as customers initially, and then I want to turn them into a client. So what happens in our business now is we have this promotional calendar where we're turning people into customers for our non-buyers. And then on the other side, we are ascending people who are our buyers into other offers. And so we have this kind of automated thing at the front, and then what I call broadcast, our live engine that goes on once you come into our audience. And what we do is, so people don't like just to be sold to all the time. You have to provide a ton of value as well, which is we're huge on. So what we do is we have this, what I call content and connection going on. Content is obviously strategic information that people want to consume, that's going to encourage them to go out and execute on whatever they're learning. And then, of course, give them the desire to go further with their learning. That's one thing. And then what's connection all about? It's people getting to know me. It's people getting to know Robert. How do we do that? We do that by doing a weekly stream. We do a lot of streams through our Facebook groups, typically to our audience. And we build a relationship there. We get to know them. We share great information. We break down people's belief patterns. We rebuild their belief patterns. and we turn them into better people and better clients because they're better business people. And so when you put all of this into a system, it's what I call the perpetual launch, where you are perpetually launching different things, but it does not feel like you're just selling stuff all the time. I'll tell you something, Jeff. That's the thing that I feel like I have been put here to do, actually, funnily enough, because any business that I go to and I show them how to do this, they pretty much instantly double their business if they've got clients, simply because most business owners are lazy. They do not offer their clients different opportunities that they want. And it can be as simple as this, right? Here's a concept for anyone to listen to, that if you've got clients right now, I guarantee you this will work. Big claim, but I'll tell you. Let's say you've got people going through your program and they're learning a certain thing from you. I'll keep it nice and vague. So they're learning. What always happens in every program, my businesses is the very same when we teach Amazon. There's always these sticking points, areas that people just don't know how to get over. So in our Amazon educational business, it's always, how do I find the right product? And that's cool, because that's what people are not sure of. Now, our program teaches you how to do that at an unbelievably high level. But the thing is, that's just DIY material. Like, you still have to go and do it yourself. So even though you've got a great program, there's no feedback. Like, you can't ask somebody what do you think of this product. It's just you're trying to figure it out yourself based on a program. So what we discovered, even a simple thing you can do there, is we put on a few times a year what we call our virtual boot camp. So it's 3 days where we bring our coaches on. We're on there. We're showing you how to go do some research. You go and do the research. So go and take action on that now for an hour. We put coaches in the room on Zoom, so everybody can look at what you're doing, give you feedback. And we do that for 3-4 days. And people come at the end of that and they've got products now and they're moving forward in their business. But they pay for that because it's an extra valued service. It's something that all of your buyers will want because it solves the biggest problem in your business. And you can promote that 3-4 times a year. That alone in our business will bring in the best part of $1 million just by doing that. And that's the type of thinking I'm talking about, where you can create new products, new things to your buyers. You can offer them the things that are in your value ladder, if you have one of those, based on the Russell Brunson type stuff.
Yep.
It's unreal what you can do. Your business is unlimited when you start thinking in this way. And you don't even have to just keep selling the usual stuff you sell. We sometimes promote other people's programs that they know things we don't know how to do. And we use the same model, but it's the trust that we build in using perpetual launch. And trust is so important in every business. That makes that side of things work. So that's how we grow our business. The 3 ways to grow a business: content and connection, having buyers, having non-buyers, turning it all into an engine.
So you basically created a revenue machine, I suppose, in terms of, because it's process driven.
It's a revenue machine. That it's interesting because we promoted another person's program in July of this year, and we did it again in September. It's a fantastic program, I have to say. But when you promote other people's programs, there's a cash flow thing, because it takes time for you to get paid the commission that you deserve because you promoted it. And it was interesting because we couldn't promote other things because we needed to give our audience time to digest what we've gone through. We do not believe in hammering our audience with stuff, But in that time, because we were not promoting stuff, we could see the difference in our revenue. It was so clear. Without perpetually launching your own stuff, other people's stuff, etc. If you don't keep doing it, your business will only, I would say, do 30% of what it could do if you don't have this engine in your business.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic insights, and people will learn a lot from that. So what I'm curious about is, what are you finding the most effective channels for your marketing in 2021?
Yeah, for us, I would say, because it's a complex question, but I'll answer as best I can and as short as I can. We do use Facebook advertising. as one of our channels, our advertising channels. We're now using YouTube advertising as well from a paid point of view. Uh, Affiliates and promotional partners are a massive part of our business. We've got some great content partners who provide amazing content in the Amazon space, specifically, I'm talking about, because just for everybody who's listening, Marketplace Superheroes is our business. That's what we're growing. In time, I will teach some of the stuff that I'm describing now, but we're focused on growing Marketplace Superheroes at the moment. So everything I'm telling you is how we grow our Amazon educational and services business. So anyway, coming back, we promote on Facebook ads, YouTube ads. Promotional affiliates are a huge thing for us. Going out to different sites that promote different programs and do deals with those people that they would consider promoting our program and stuff like that. So we get a lot of very good traffic in from there. Another channel, podcast interviews, a little bit like this one today. Fantastic channel. We actually have a team who go after podcast interviews first all the time. We also have a joint venture team who Jeff put us in touch with Rachel on our team, who's awesome. We go out and find people like yourself who are amazing content creators. We find ways we can go in and provide valuable content as well, and we can work together. And in many cases, promote what the other person is doing also with their own audience whenever it's a good fit, which many times it is. So they're many of the main channels that ways we bring people into our business. The other thing as well we do a good bit of is YouTube organic. So we make YouTube videos, and I'll tell you something. I've had a big epiphany on that channel because, the model for many years has been you make content that answers specific questions on YouTube. So in the Amazon space, like how do I find my first product on Amazon? How does Amazon FBA work for beginners? All of that type of content.
Yep.
We're stopping making that stuff now, completely. And we're moving to a new place of content there, which will be now and again some of that content, but much more documentary orientated, watchable information that may not always relate to business, but builds an audience. So I think that's the thing. It's interesting as marketers, we're sometimes very one track minded on Amazon, when in fact, if we really think about it, what are our audience looking to do at their core? And if you're listening to me today and you're like going, the Amazon thing sounds interesting. Well, what are you really looking to do? You're looking to make a change your life in some way. And so the content we're looking to do on that channel is going to be more things we're doing to change our life, new things I'm trying or our team are trying or whatever, but in a really watchable manner, and then bring people from there back to to our business.
So you're almost going down a storytelling route that actually adds value to people's lives.
Very much so. I just made a big video there about the Wim Hof method, right? I use that all the time for stress control. So we made a whole video about that, did a whole little documentary about me getting into the sea and stuff like that. And it'll take time for that to really catch on, but it's the way to go.
Wim Hof is the guys that actually tells you to go and hike in the snow. And I've heard the story. I've actually written down some notes and been doing more research on it. So,
Try the breathing. The breathing is unbelievable. You should try. Everyone listening should give the breathing a try. It's amazing. And then the cold therapy is the next step. But anyway, I guess I was very one track minded for a long time on our channels. Now I'm thinking in a different way. And just as a concept I'll share for everybody listening as well, something you can consider is the more watchable your information is, you're building a really great retargeting audience who are getting to know you, like you, and trust you. What more do you want when it comes to then advertising your different things that you have to offer? I think the trouble is we're really quick to skip the relationship part as marketers nowadays, and you cannot do that anymore because people need to like you and trust you, and therefore you've got to be polar opposite in many ways. Like our big thing is no Lambos, right? We're not into Lamborghinis. We're not into the flashy lifestyle. All of that's is not what we're now. I have no problem with people who are, no problem, but that's not what we're about. We're humble, normal people. Like, I don't have a mansion. Like, I don't go around in a Lamborghini. Like, I have a nice car, but it's not a Lamborghini. And I guess that's the thing too. It's like sometimes when you're trying to reach everybody on every channel and just be everything to everybody, no one cares about you. Whereas now with us, we've got a small, really focused tribe who really care. We really care about who care about us. And we're just building that brick by brick, person by person. And the goal is to be doing this for a long time so that we can build a big impact over time. And I guess that's the other opposite to most people, which is build this massive audience overnight. And if I can't do it overnight, I'm going to give up. You know?
I love the story that you've been sharing, because really what you've done is you went and built a business from an intention, which is to create an online business. You developed processes. You learnt from some of the best along the way from mentors and books. And as you built your own business, now you're actually bring what you've learned back to the world by teaching them how to do it.
Yeah.
So if you go in the story arc of Joseph Campbell, number one, you heard the call. You then leapt into the gap and started at work for free. You learn along the way. You work with a partner who's 12 years older than you. You're willing to learn. You brought energy and passion to it, and you learn so much along the way. And now you're bringing back what you've learned to the world.
Yeah.
And that's what
and hopefully help them avoid all the mistakes we've made, because we've made plenty, from growing our Amazon businesses to growing our educational businesses and everything in between. You know, we have made a lot of mistakes, and that's the real thing. I'd love to. I tell people on that, Jeff, you know, and it comes back to how you wrap that up there. For me, coaching, mentoring, all of that, they're time machines. And, you know, why would you not want to buy a time machine? Because that's the thing. Like if we could get rid of a lot of the time wasted in trial and error, we can change our lives very quickly. And that for me is what coaching or information or anything like that is. They're time machines. So anybody listening today, if you're not where you want to be, the real question is, where's the time machine? How can I invest in that? How can I then take it seriously? Because I don't be one of those people that says you're going to do something, then you get into it and you do nothing with it. There's loads. Unfortunately, we have loads of people like that in our community. I wish we didn't, but we do. Yeah. And I'm constantly encouraging people to execute, because I know on the other side of execution is everything that you actually want in your life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing the story, Stephen. It's been fantastic, and I look forward to when you're drinking again. Maybe you can have one Guinness in Dublin.
They got great non-alcoholic Guinness these days, so maybe I can have that
well, we just have a non-alcoholic. I'm happy with that now. I've been on a bit of a moderate, and actually not have been drinking for a little while too. So just to wrap it up here, Stephen, what is 2 or 3 things you'd like to share with our audience that you feel is really important?
Sure. First one is you got to transition from team consumer to team producer. That's a huge change. We all have the opportunity to make every day. So what does that mean? Well, you got to become someone who is producing things in the world. Like, don't just buy things on Amazon, sell things on Amazon. Don't just read about these different things, go and do them. You know, it comes back to what I talked about, the new videos we're making for YouTube now. I could have talked about these amazing videos we're going to make, and they're going to be groundbreaking and all of that. But there comes a time when you have to go down to the beach in Wexford, get into your shorts and shoot the video where you're doing the Wim Hof method, right? Going and doing it. And that's what I had to do, which is coming out soon, by the way.
Cool.
But so that's the first one. You got to become someone who's producing. And when you look at your life, by the way, if you have 100% of your time, you have the 80-20 rule, which we've heard about, right? 20% of your actions give you 80% of your results. Think of this. What if you were producing 80% of the time and consuming 20% of the time? How much would your life change? You're producing 4 times more. So that's the first one. The second idea I would have here is, you said it earlier on, Jeff, I want to bring it back up again. It's the long game, long-term thinking. Anything you go into in life, don't go into it just thinking short term, because in business, a lot of times you're going to be disappointed, not because you're useless or whatever. It's because things take time. You will hear the stories of people who had nothing and overnight became really rich or whatever. They're the outliers. It's not the normal thing, I'm telling you. And I see behind the scenes of a lot of these so-called like online expert people. I meet them a lot, and I'll tell you something. the picture isn't always pretty behind the scenes, right? Because a lot of times they're putting out this big image, but there's not much behind it.
Not
And
much
and even with
substance,
ourselves,
yeah.
you know, I'm cautious. I'm there's a lot behind what we have going on here, but we're very open and transparent about what we do. Some people not so. So just know that long term. And I guess the third thing I would say to you listening today, going back, is like you've got to find you've got to find someone who's already done it and who's further ahead than you, and be that in information, be it in coaching, whatever. I'm just telling you, it's the best way forward, because there are people who can figure things out for themselves and they just go off and do it. I've never been that type of person. I have learned where I've been most successful is by finding other people. And on that point, bonus point for you, building a network. That is so important. Like, I mean, today I told everybody at the start of this call, I was learning from Jeff many years ago, reading his blog. True story. It's now, I don't even know how many years later, we're getting to meet, getting to know each other, and having someone like Jeff in my network is huge. Just the other day, we needed a partner for something. I was able to reach out to my network and find someone who could connect me to someone in that right area. So people is my third point really today. Be it mentors or people in your network, they are going to be the thing that's going to help you in the long term. And there's loads more, but I've already taken too much of your time, Jeff. So they're my three things.
Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and experience, Stephen. It's been an absolute pleasure to have. It's been a fantastic conversation. We weren't able to do it around the fire, but maybe next time.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love that, Jeff. And thank you for having me. And thanks for being open to chatting to us as well. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been an absolute pleasure.